Hey, what's going on? Luke here, and we're here to do a review of Round 5 of the 2021 NRL season. Now, I'll be honest, I was either travelling, I was at the Easter show, or I was out and about, so I didn't get to see a lot of the footy this week. However, I did see enough to do a bit of a review. Plus, I actually attended a game. I went to the Bulldogs versus Melbourne. I went to the Easter show, and then I went to the game in the afternoon, so night time, I should say. And it was such a great time being at an NRL game. After quite a while, with all the COVID stuff, just getting to attend a game, it was so good, especially going to the Easter show as well. Despite the result for the Bulldogs, it was just a great experience being at the ground, and it was about 5,000 people there, so it wasn't too bad. Now, I'm obviously going to be doing the reviews, but like I said, I haven't seen every single minute of every single game, so just take these with a grain of salt. But this is just my quick thoughts, my quick review, my quick recap of Round 5 of the 2021 NRL season. So the first game of the round saw the South Sydney Rabbitohs defeating the Brisbane Broncos 35-6. I think this was one that we all knew the Rabbitohs were going to win, 13 plus. Obviously, just everybody who you would expect to fire, definitely fired. Latrell Mitchell, he's so damaging. He is so damaging. He's a guy just anywhere near the line, you can just pass it to him, and he's going to find a way to the line, or he's going to do a fancy little offload, or he's going to throw a perfect cutout ball. Latrell Mitchell is just on fire at the moment. I would say he's the form player of the comp. We've seen a lot of players who have been good for a couple of weeks, but then they've dropped off a little bit. But Latrell Mitchell, he's definitely been consistent right from round 1 all the way up to round 5. Maybe a guy like Pappenhausen as well, but yeah, Latrell, he's definitely been outstanding this season. Look, the rest of the guys, look, Adam Reynolds outstanding. We saw our first ever 2-point field goal. I didn't think it would actually happen, and to be honest, in terms of how the game went out, it meant nothing. I know they ended up kicking another field goal at the end, and like I said, it really meant nothing, the field goal, in terms of being a 2-pointer compared to a 1-pointer. I feel like they're the games that it's going to be in. The ones where it's not really meaning much, and teams are going to be like, oh, I'll stuff it, I'm going to take a shot, not too much pressure on me. I can't see there ever being a time in a game where there's a team who needs to kick a 2-point field goal to level the game. We saw a couple of weeks ago, someone had an attempt, I can't remember who it was, but it was absolutely woeful. They tried to do it on the run. It was just never going to happen, but they had to go for it because they're down by 2 points. So yeah, I can't see it happening. It's just going to be circumstances like that. And I thought the ironic thing was throughout the whole lead up to it, remember Andrew Voss, he was just talking about Benji Marshall being the one to kick it, and the next minute Adam Reynolds just slots it straight over the black dot. It was literally the most cleanest field goal I've ever seen. It was just such a nice field goal. But just in terms of the actual game itself, Broncos, they didn't really offer too much. I mean, it's kind of expected. They definitely need to change something in the lineup, but I don't really know where you start because there's so many people who probably shouldn't be playing first grade, but are just playing out of necessity because they don't really have anyone to replace them. But yeah, the Rabbitohs definitely fit and firing in round 5, and I'm keen to see what they can do throughout the rest of the season. Now, moving on to the second game of the round, we saw the Manly Warringah Sea Eagles picking up a huge upset against the New Zealand Warriors. Now, it seems weird to say a huge upset when you actually look at the two lineups, but this is one of the games that I said I thought the Warriors would win. However, it was a game that was very winnable for Manly, and that's exactly what they did. Right from the get-go, you could see it was going to be a contest. Now, I will say this was one of the ones I was actually watching on a train heading up to Sydney, so I was cutting in and out, and I was also listening to the radio as well. But look, from what I could gather, Manly sort of deserved the win. They were sort of back and forth, and the Warriors, they got the lead, and I thought they were actually going to go on with it, but obviously it didn't happen, and then Manly clawed their way back. Obviously took a shot at field goal at the end there, it missed, and then Cherry Evans ended up getting another chance seconds later and slotted it straight over to win. Such a clutch moment for Cherry Evans, and it kind of exemplifies everything about Cherry Evans. He's so good. I think they listed off how many field goals he's kicked, and I think it was pretty high for an NRL player. You kind of generally think of field goals being, maybe 10 or 12 or something. That'd probably be a lot for field goals, because you think, how many times are they actually in situations in a game where you need to kick a field goal first off, and secondly, they actually do kick a field goal, and it just shows how much Manly have relied on him too, in the sense that there was no other person who's really kicked a field goal as well. I think they said Kieran Foran might have kicked one. I think for the Warriors, nobody had kicked one, so yeah, it definitely came down to Cherry Evans, and he was the difference. Look, Dylan Walker went down injured. Manly actually played pretty decent. I mean, Ruben Garrick went to fullback. Overall, they played pretty good. Warriors obviously played pretty good as well, but at the same time, there was a lot of drop ball, a lot of errors, a lot of penalties, just a lot of shit stuff. So it definitely wasn't a top-notch game, but look, both teams played decent. Manly got the job done, and that's all that matters. Now, moving on to the second game of Friday night, it saw the Penrith Panthers defeating the Canberra Raiders 30-10. This is one that I did see coming. However, it was a game that I didn't see all of, so I was kind of, I think from about halfway, half-time, I saw from there on. And look, Penrith, they definitely looked to have the game sort of wrapped up. But then when I was watching the highlights, I was thinking, oh geez, Canberra, they actually started off pretty well. Could have been up 10-0 had it been, if Croker actually put the ball down. To be honest, I would back Jared Croker 9 times out of 10 to have got that ball down, and obviously this is the one time that he didn't. Usually a pretty good finisher in terms of on the end of grubbers and stuff. Very unfortunate for Canberra, but I'll be honest, they actually showed enough to show me that they are capable of beating Penrith. But once they get on a roll, they're so hard to stop. As soon as they start getting their way in, sort of their swagger comes in, the confidence comes in, you kind of know you're up against it. You're not going to win. Penrith they're just flying at the moment. They are absolutely killing it. Their side is just strong all over. And Canberra, they are definitely a top 4 side. And Penrith just put the sword into them. And obviously Penrith carrying on like idiots at the end. I didn't really like that in terms of the whole Tapani thing, where they were he was just standing there and they just came. I think it was Stephen Crichton. I think he's actually copped a suspension or something, I think, this week. Definitely deserved. But yeah, look, there's been confident and there's been cocky, and I feel like Penrith are sort of bordering on it at the moment. However, they're winning, so look, just keep doing what you're doing, Penrith. It's entertaining to watch, and look, who knows what's going to happen towards the end of the year. But that game on Friday night, Raiders and Penrith, I definitely could see them playing in the grand final. So we'll see how they go later in the year when Canberra host them. But in this instance, Penrith take the 2 points. Now moving on to Super Saturday, the first game was the Gold Coast Titans defeating the Newcastle Knights. I think it was 42-16. Obviously a home game for the Titans, and I think that definitely did help them. Not so much them having the fans. I don't know if the fans really affect the Titans too much, but just more so the travel, with them being an a Queensland side. When the whole COVID stuff strikes and they have to go in and go straight back out, it definitely doesn't work for him. But look, absolutely damaging. Dave Fafita, he's just cementing himself as the best second rower in the comp. In fact, I'm going to go as far as to say I think he is the best second rower in the comp. That try he just scored just from the tap, absolutely ridiculous. First off, that he actually scored it. Secondly, shithouse defense from the Knights. He just looked at Connor Watson, run straight at him. Tyson Frizzell tried his best to come over and cover him, but he just kept running away from Frizzell. And then the centre and Connor Watson, they just literally just got absolutely steamrolled. I honestly couldn't believe what my eyes. When they showed the replay, I was with my mate and we're just like, wait, what? He literally just went from the scrum. I couldn't believe it. Anyways, look, he scored 3 tries, and Corey Thompson scored a double. Herbert scored a double. Look, Titans, they just ran a market. There was nothing the Knights could do, really. Kalen Ponga tried his best, but they don't really offer too much to the Knights. I feel bad for Tyson Frizzell. He went to the Knights, and I feel like he left the Dragons because he was kind of carrying the Dragons 4-pack, and then he leaves the Dragons, and then all the other forwards sort of step up, and he goes to the Knights, and I feel like he's carrying the Knights 4-pack at this moment. It's just, I feel bad for Tyson Frizzell. You got the Dragons playing well. He's gone to the Knights. You expect big things from the Knights every year, and all of a sudden they just get hit with injury after injury. And look, even Kalen Ponga couldn't save him this time. Brimson definitely outplayed him, despite Ponga scoring a try. But yeah, look, the Titans, they were just unstoppable, and it was all off the back of David Fafita, Tino, and look, pretty much the whole team really. But Dave Fafita, definitely an impact player. Now moving on to the game I attended, you can tell I'm wearing a Bulldogs hat. I'm a Bulldogs supporter, and I got to say I actually was pretty happy about the game. It seems weird to have your side have 52 points put on them, but I am happy because we actually scored 18 points, kicked all the goals. Fantastic work, Bulldogs. You broke the drought. We don't need to beat Melbourne. We just need to score a try. That's all I was going for, and that's exactly what happened. Happened pretty quickly too. Look, Luke Thompson was definitely the best player for the Bulldogs. Definitely had a huge impact into the game. Started off the bench, which as soon as I saw it come up and saw Dylan Napa, like when he came up on the screen, I was like, oh God, we're in for a long night. And that's exactly what it was, but there were moments of brilliance for the Bulldogs. Tennis Lesniak was back at his best. He's so frustrating because he produces stuff like that, and then next week he'll probably come out and he'll drop every single ball. He's so frustrating, but one team that doesn't drop the ball is the Melbourne Storm. However, they were doing a fair bit of that. I feel like they were inviting chances for the Bulldogs, almost like they're taking pity on us, but they just had to put the foot down. They started off the game super strong, and obviously they finished the game super strong, but there was a middle part where the Storm, they weren't very good, and they weren't scoring points, and I believe the Bulldogs scored 2 in a row. So look, Storm, I would say would have had shreds absolutely torn off him by Bellamy. I'm assuming he'd be furious. The fact that they actually conceded a try, let alone conceding 3 tries. So yeah, it wasn't exactly a great night in the office for Melbourne. Obviously, the scoreline doesn't reflect that. But look, some of the tries were just, that was so easy. Sione Katoa for the Bulldogs, like, all you got to do is target him and you know you're going to score at least 18, 20 points. He's just an absolute flop of a player, and it doesn't matter whether it's the start of the game, end of the game, you just know he's just bound to make an error, whether it's in attack or defense, and it's just going to lead the points. And he's just someone that he should be playing first grade, but the fact that he is playing first grade just exemplifies everything about the Bulldogs at the moment. But yeah, look, I'm talking about the Bulldogs a lot despite Melbourne scoring 52 points. Obviously, everybody that you know from Melbourne, the ones you expect, your Pappenhausens and such, they were really good. But yeah, Bulldogs, they were pretty bad in defense. But look, 3 tries. Now moving on to what I would consider an upset, but maybe not an upset. Sydney Roosters defeating the Cronulla Sharks. It was 26-18, and it definitely looked like the Sharks were going to win this one. I was catching the train home from the Easter show, or from the Bulldogs game, and I was watching it on my phone, and the Sharks, I thought they had it wrapped up, and I was like, oh, I don't need to watch this. Anyways, I just started scrolling through on social media, and I saw, hang on, Roosters won. I was like, what? And then I saw people going, Sam Walker, like, what a game, what a great 10 minutes to finish it off. And I was like, what actually happened? I went back through, looked at the highlights, and what a masterclass. Sam Walker literally just destroyed the Sharks in 10 minutes. Could not believe that first pass he threw. I think it was Daniel Tupou on the wing. Absolutely ridiculous. The try scored himself. I set up another try. It was just, what a game from Sam Walker. His second game, you come in and do that. Now, I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here in terms of talking him up, but geez, everything they said about him seems to be pretty true so far. And it's typical Roosters. They have one player go down like Keary, and you're like, absolutely done. How are they going to deal with Luke Keary being gone? And all of a sudden, Sam Walker steps up, which sort of also says, imagine if they were both playing on the same team at the moment. You had Luke Keary and Sam Walker. Just would have been an absolute crazy team. I would have backed the Roosters to win the premiership easy. But so we've got Sam Walker there. He's doing a fantastic job. Don't take anything away from the rest of the side, though. Apparently, Warrior-Hargraves had a really good game. Obviously, the Morris boys are there. You got Tedesco. You still got the same culprits every week. Similar to the Storm. But when the Roosters are winning, you already know who's going to be playing the good games. It's always going to be the backline guys. In terms of the Sharks, though, that's definitely one of those games that I think they'll look back on and just be like, how did we lose that one? How did we lose it? We had such a good lead. Only like 10, 15 minutes to go, and we absolutely blew it. And that's exactly what happened against a relatively inexperienced Roosters side. If there was ever a time you're going to beat the Roosters, it would have been then. And also for the Sharks, with all the pressure on John Morris, definitely a game they didn't want to lose. So I think Sharks fans would be super disappointed. Sharks players would be super disappointed. But for the Roosters, you'd be absolutely cheering. You got a team that had no right to win that one, and they went out and they got the win. Now moving on to Sunday, we had an upset I definitely didn't see happening. I thought it might have been a possibility, but I just didn't think it would happen. But we saw the North Queensland Cowboys defeating the West Tigers 34-30. Scoreline was super high. It reminds me of like an under-20s game. And that's kind of how it was played. Some of the defense was absolutely shithouse. Like, it was just absolutely terrible, absolutely abysmal. For the Tigers, I don't know what that first half was. You come out, they have the big tribute to Tommy Raudonikis, they retire the number 7 jersey, and Luke Brooks comes out and shits the bed. The whole team shits the bed, really. I mean, there's so many times where it's just effort plays and just poor one-on-one defense, and they're just constantly inviting the Cowboys who just come to score points, and the Cowboys were taking the opportunity and they were going and scoring points. And this was without Taumalolo too, so as soon as Taumalolo wasn't playing, I was like, yeah, Tigers definitely should win this one, because I was tipping them to win with Taumalolo playing. So you take out their best player. There was no way the Tigers should have lost that one, and the fact that they were so far behind in that first half, like, I thought the game was over at halftime. Obviously, they came back, and they were coming back pretty strong. The crowd was willing them home after booing them at halftime. And for the people who were sitting there and saying, oh, I can't believe you would boo them at halftime, why would you boo your own team? You know what? These guys have gone and they've paid good money. They've gone out there, they've done the big tribute, and they've come out and produced that display. Absolutely crazy. Now, I don't know if I would go as far as to say I would boo, but the fact that people are like, oh, you shouldn't be booing. No, I think you're well within your rights to boo. That was absolutely terrible. If a team plays really good, you cheer them. If the team plays like that, and that wasn't just a bad performance, that was absolutely terrible. That was probably one of the worst halves of football. The Cowboys had one of the worst sides they've ever fielded, and they scored the most points they've ever scored in Sydney, ever. Like, that says everything. Considering all the sides the Cowboys have had, all the teams they've come up against when they played in Sydney, and the fact that they scored the most points in the first half ever against this Tigers side who should have been fired up, I don't know what to say, Tigers. And look, they did claw the way back, and it was a great effort to get back, but they shouldn't have been in that position to start off with. And also for the people saying, oh, well, the bunker, they just ruined the game, all that sort of stuff. No, the bunker didn't ruin the game. The rules ruined the game, because this whole thing where they award the try, and then they wait till the person's about to kick the goal, and they let everyone celebrate and go back to their kickoff positions and such, and then they go, oh, actually, we're going to look at it. I hate the system, and the system needs to be changed, but it was the right call. There's no sort of mistakes here. I've seen people on Twitter, some of the journos going, oh, well, this has just ruined the game. No, it didn't ruin the game. You got the right result. It just sort of killed the momentum for the Tigers, whereas if they just went up and had a look at the video ref, you would have got on with it within a couple of minutes. Instead, it all dragged out for 5 minutes, and all this talk about speeding up the game, they do that sort of stuff. But look, the Tigers, absolutely terrible. Cowboys, weren't too much about it, to be honest. They just got pretty lucky with how bad the Tigers played. But look, the Cowboys, they did enough to get the job done, and that's their first win of the season, so I won't take anything away from them. But I think the biggest story out of this game was just how bad the Tigers were. Now into the last game of the round, I was talking about the Cowboys being the biggest upset of the round. You got Manly winning as well. There were a couple of upsets, but this was one I definitely didn't think was going to happen. I was so adamant that the Eels were going to beat the Dragons. And yes, I said it would be a tight game, but this one wasn't even a tight game, and obviously the Dragons got the win, 26-12. So even by the scoreline, it doesn't seem like a close game. Josef factor in that the Eels scored towards the end to sort of make the game look a little bit closer. But the Dragons absolutely decimated the Eels. And this wasn't a case of the Eels playing super bad. Like, the Dragons were just really, really good. So all of my talk throughout the whole preseason, even start the season, I was like, yeah, Dragons are good, but they're only versing the shit teams. Wait till they verse a team like the Eels. And then they've actually versed a team like the Eels, and they've absolutely towed them up. This side, they might be the real deal. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I did a video after round 2 or 3 where I talked about the Eels being the real deal. Obviously not. They can't beat the Dragons. So it's definitely too early to write off the Eels, but it definitely wasn't the performance you want to see. And for the Dragons, that is exactly what you want to see. You want to see them defending well, attacking well. They're just getting in, they're making those effort plays. They're not making stupid errors. And I really think they're playing for the coach. And I think it shows you how much of a difference sort of Anthony Griffin's making. I don't know if he's that good of a coach, but more so how detrimental to the side Paul McGregor was. The players just obviously didn't give a shit. And they don't even have their best players from the past couple of years. McInnes is out injured, and obviously he's leaving at the end of the year. And Tyson Frizzell left. You add them into this side, who knows what they could have done. If they put this much effort in the last couple of seasons, I really would have loved to have seen what the Dragons could have done. But hey, you can't look in the past. The Dragons obviously flying at the moment. And ironically, they find themselves in the top 4, considering me and a lot of other people had them competing for the wooden spoon before the season started. So, seems ridiculous now, but at the start of the season, that was definitely a popular opinion. Anyways, that's my little review of round 5. Leave in the comment section below, what were your thoughts? Did you enjoy the upsets? Did you enjoy the games? Did your team win? Did they lose? Let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you happen to enjoy this video, make sure you go ahead and smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Also, make sure to turn on the notification bell. It's super important. Let you be notified immediately that I've uploaded. Don't have to worry about the sub boxes and all that sort of stuff. Also, give me a follow on social media. It's on the screen right now. It's Mr. Luke and YT for the most part. It's Mr. Luke just for Facebook, but Mr. Luke and YT on everything else. So go ahead, give me a follow, give me an ad, do all that sort of stuff, and stay tuned for more content on the channel. That's the remainder of this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. See you.